All right, let's get right into it. Ramadan. It's obviously this incredible time for spiritual focus, but if you're an athlete, man, it brings up a whole storm of questions, right? Like, how am I supposed to train? When do I train? Do I even bother? Look, forget all that generic advice you see everywhere. We're going to build your guide, a personalized one, right now. So, let's tackle the biggest question right off the bat. Is there some magical one-size-fits-all plan for training during Ramadan? The answer? Absolutely not. No way. And honestly, trying to follow some cookie-cutter plan you found online, it's not just ineffective, it can be downright dangerous.
And here's why. Your situation, your body, your life, it's totally unique. Think about it. The advice for a bodybuilder in, say, London during a short winter fast is going to be completely useless, even harmful, for a CrossFit athlete sweating it out in Dubai during a long summer fast. So personalization, it's not just some buzzword. It's everything.
Which brings us to this first major point. There isn't just one Ramadan experience. There are many, many different realities. And all that standard advice you find online, it usually misses the real-world stuff, the variables that completely change the game for athletes like you.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Are we talking about a 10-hour fast or an 18-hour fast? Is your sport bodybuilding or are you an endurance runner? Are you a guy or a girl? Do you have a competition coming up this month? Every single one of these things requires a totally different strategy. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break it down step by step and help you build your own blueprint.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the big one, the single most important factor that literally dictates everything else, and that is the length of your fast. Seriously, this isn't just some small detail. It's the master variable that's going to control your entire approach.
And to really get a handle on this, let's look at the two extremes. You've got a winter Ramadan, right? A pretty manageable 10-hour fast. Then you've got a summer Ramadan, a grueling 18, maybe even 19-hour fast. These are two completely different worlds from a physiological standpoint. You just can't treat them the same. It's impossible.
And this right here, this is where the rubber meets the road. Just look at how insane these differences are. In the winter, you might dial back your training volume by, say, 20%. But in a long summer fast, whoa, you're cutting it in half, 50%. Your training frequency, it goes from maybe 4 or 5 times a week down to 3 max. And hydration? We'll get to that in a second because it's wild. Even your goals have to completely shift from trying to maintain 90% of your strength to just surviving and holding on to 75%.
Yeah, let's pause and really look at this number, 5 to 6 liters. That's how much water you need to get down in that tiny eating window during a long summer fast. And listen, this isn't about performance anymore. This is a non-negotiable for your health, for your safety. The risk of getting seriously dehydrated is no joke.
And this just perfectly captures the mindset shift you have to make. If you're looking at an 18-hour fast, you're in hardcore mode. Making progress, that's off the table. Your new goal is survival. It's about not getting injured and just holding on to the strength you've built. So, maintaining 70–75% of what you can do, that's not failure. That is a huge victory given the circumstances.
All right, so we've got the length of the fast down. Now, how does that apply to your sport? Because, let's be real, different sports have completely different demands on the body, which means they pair up with fasting in, well, very different ways. So, for all you strength and bodybuilding folks out there, the news is actually pretty good. This is one of the more manageable things to do during Ramadan. Why? Well, your workouts are mostly anaerobic. You've got rest periods built right in, so you can usually keep the intensity high, even if you have to drop the total volume. In fact, most of the generic Ramadan advice is actually based on this exact model.
Now, CrossFit that's a whole different ballgame. The mix of that crazy intensity plus losing tons of sweat makes it incredibly tough. So the number one rule here is do not redline. You gotta avoid going all out. Forget about chasing a PR on a 4-time WOD. The leaderboard doesn't matter. Your new goal is just to maintain your functional capacity without absolutely wrecking yourself.
Okay, endurance athletes, runners, cyclists, I'm sorry, but this is the tough love part of the explainer. Long-duration cardio and fasting, especially a long fast, just do not mix well, at all. The risk of breaking down muscle, severe dehydration, and getting injured is just way, way too high. Honestly, the smartest thing you can do is drastically cut your volume, or maybe even just swap out your runs for long walks for the month.
All right, we've nailed down the two biggest pieces of the puzzle, fast length and sport type. Now, let's do a quick, rapid-fire round to fine-tune your plan with a few other super important factors.
So what happens when that big competition you've been training for lands smack in the middle of Ramadan? This is a huge dilemma for so many athletes. What's the right move?
First things first, let's just be honest with ourselves. If you decide to compete while you're fasting, you have to accept that your performance is going to take a hit. We're talking maybe 15 to 30%. But the most critical thing to understand here is that this decision, it's not just about sports. It's deeply personal and tied to your faith. Nobody can make this choice for you. It's a conversation you need to have with your religious authority, not just with your coach.
Okay, next up is a really common question, maybe even a temptation. Can you use Ramadan to transform your body? Use it as a time to cut fat or maybe even bulk up?
Let me be blunt. For most people, both of those are a really bad idea. Trying to cut fat, you're basically adding a calorie deficit on top of an already massive fast. That's a one-way ticket to losing muscle and messing up your metabolism. And bulking? Good luck trying to cram a calorie surplus into a tiny eating window when your body's already struggling to recover. For 99% of us, the smartest, sanest goal is just maintenance. Hold the line.
And finally, this is super important. We have to talk about the unique challenges and actually the strategic opportunities for female athletes during Ramadan.
So the menstrual cycle provides a religious exemption from fasting, and it is so important not to see this as a weakness or a setback. Instead, think of it as a strategic advantage. Those days when you're not fasting are a golden opportunity to refuel, to supercharge your recovery, and maybe even train with a little more gas in the tank. It prepares you for the next stretch of fasting. And of course, it's a crucial time to really focus on getting enough iron.
Okay, so we've been through a lot of what-ifs and different scenarios. It can seem pretty complex. So how do we boil all this down into something you can actually use? Let's build your personal blueprint right now.
It really just comes down to 4 simple steps. Step 1, assess your fast. How many hours are we talking? That's your foundation. Step 2, adapt for your sport. Use what we talked about to adjust your volume and intensity. Step 3, set a realistic goal. And remember, for most of us, that goal is maintenance. And finally, step 4, prioritize what really matters, your health and your faith. This month is about so much more than just what happens in the gym.
So, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. After everything we've gone over, what is the one smart change you're going to make to your plan this Ramadan? What's the one thing you'll do to build a strategy that truly honors both your faith and your fitness?